So with those numbers now, we can now determine the number of visits by simply dividing the total amount of revenue, which is 58.8, divided by the revenue per visit. Now our target is 588 visits. That's my target that we need, not someone else's target, not some other clinic or practice. I don't care about that. I don't know what money they want to make. I know I want to make $10,000, and I know 588 visits at the average we've been collecting is going to get me there. Does everyone see how we got to that point? And now we're going to just keep going deeper and deeper and deeper until we have 5, 6, 7 different metrics, i.e. lead indicators, that will help us determine whether or not we are on pace to achieve our goal of $10,000 a month.
That 10,000, does that include you treating, or is that after you pay somebody to, like you said earlier, is that your total profit afterwards?
So that is the money I'm taking home. And and again, this is practice freedom methodology. How I look at it is I'm not going to include personally what I'm paying myself to be a clinician. I'm not. It doesn't mean that you can't. You could say that money includes whatever the company pays me as the role I'm playing, including any profit after. But when I talk about how much income I want personally, I don't include that because I look at my business as a money machine, a revenue machine that provides me the money I want. And my goal is to remove myself from not playing the roles I don't want to play.
I got you.
So play it both ways. What does it look like and paying yourself, and what doesn't? Initially, I would suggest grouping them together because you need money to live. As you begin to play a lesser day-to-day role in your business and actually have what we call just a real business that's spitting off money to you without trading time for money, then you may want to look at it differently. But for right now, if you are working, treating a lot in your business, then I would not look at it that way. I would combine the two.
Let me just jump in really quick. It's the difference between looking at yourself as the owner of the business or as an employee of the business. So if you're treating, you're effectively an employee of the business, generating the revenue and the profitability of the business for the owner to take. So you have two roles there. That's why Jamey's saying if there's not enough at the bottom in terms of profit to make your lifestyle goal, and you're treating 75% of the time, then you should include both. But as you move more towards the owner and less as a treating clinician, that number is going to be without paying yourself a salary for being a clinician.
We want to be very careful. I learned this the frustrating way that, okay, we naturally compare ourselves to others. We want to gauge ourselves. But when you start gauging yourselves against people that do not have your same aspirations, that are not investing in what you're investing, then many times you're going to sell yourself short. And if you're gauging yourself against people who have 100 clinics who are running a $50 million company, you're not measuring apples to apples. Sometimes gauging yourself is really going to give you one of two answers. You're going to feel superior about you think you're doing better than someone else, or inferior that you're not doing as well as someone else. Both ways are not healthy. And yet I understand that sometimes it's nice to just say, am I doing at least okay? What I suggest is if you're going to just gauge yourself just to see how you're doing, gauge yourself with us. Gauge yourself with people that are doing the same things, that have similar aspirations of wanting more and wanting these different things that are very uncommon in our world. And be careful of that other stuff because it will affect how you then put this into your business. Because you'll start hearing things of, like I did, you can't do that. That's impossible. Oh, that must be illegal. You're doing something different than the rest of the world. It must be wrong. And then you get into this whole mental thing. Let's continue. So now that we have that, we can add in now our cancellation rate. Again, the cancellation rate or percent arrivals, however you want to look at it, is something that you get to choose. Again, the last time I heard, it was hovering around 11 or 12%.
Yes, a lot of companies will say 88% is the average going across the board, and companies strive for 93 and above.
So you're saying in the country, that's the benchmark?
88.
88. Okay, so it's about 12%. We're not here to just be the average. Now, if you're at 16, 17%, well, then the average would be good. But if you're at 12%, if you look around at everyone else, you'd be like, okay, I'm doing okay. I'm doing what everyone else is doing. But if you then come into this world, our average is 8% or below. I recommend that you understand where your number is now and you challenge yourself putting it below that. Now, for this purpose, this is just a target or a benchmark. It is not actually involved in our metrics to figure out our goal. But obviously, if you want to improve your profitability, you just reduce your cancellation rate. Now, this is another area you need to choose. So if you notice, the things that are bolded, highlighted, these are things that you have to choose. You have to come up with the answer. So what is your visits per new patient? This is an area that is costing you a lot of money if you're not clear on this. The way I did this originally in my own business, and I had at the time, like 500,000, 750,000 revenue business, I was treating predominantly, and I had to come up with, well, what should that number be? And I looked at my own ability to treat. We did outpatient orthopedics. And I said, I've been doing this for 10 years, and it always seems to be 11 or 12. That's the number I went with. Each one of you, between your ability to treat your target population and the history of the dashboard, your numbers, should have what that number is. Right now, what that number is, or what that number should be. It might be 8 right now, but you're like 8. No, we should be seeing people 10 times on average for an episode of care. That includes the big ones and the small ones. And again, this is just an average. You need to come up with that number. Once you have that number, as you can guess, you are going to be able to determine how many new patients by simply dividing the number of visits that you need, your target, 588 per month on average, right? Different days in a month, divided by the number of visits you see per new patient, which in this case would be 56. Now you just figured out your target for new patients for the month on average. And of course, you could break that down per day. You could break that down per week, however you see fit. Okay, here comes another area that is often confusing. What is the visits per FTE per day? In other words, an 8-hour day is considered a day. 40 hours weeks is considered, by the government standards, 40-hour week is a full-time week. So we're using those numbers. Divide by 5, which is a typical work week, comes to be 8 hours a day. How many visits could someone see if it was at full capacity? And I know the question that's going to come up, but what if a regular visit is a different time frame than a brand new visit, meaning new patients an hour, regular visits 45 minutes. If it's an average of 2 new patients a day, then put 2 new patients at 60 minutes, and then how many other people that you can do. In our clinic, we came up to 14 because we were 2 patients an hour, and we did evals in a half hour. At the end of the day, if you don't know this number, you then can't figure out some other target metrics, and you're going to have a hard time creating expectations for your staff. Most people do not have expectations for their staff. They have hope. Well, I hope people are doing 11 visits a day. Well, let's look at the numbers. They're not. They're doing 8. It is critical you know the capacity of an FTE in your business, which stands for full-time equivalent. We're normalizing your people. We're not giving them names. We're not making this emotional. We're just giving them billing statuses. 20 hours, half FTE, 40 hours, 1 FTE. We need to see how efficient our business is operating. That's why we do it. Does anyone need help on getting that number? If you do, please reach out to Leilani. She'll schedule a time with me or Troy or Zach or John. One of us will help you because it's critical you have that number.
Let me just add to that. I think that's a huge number that you have to know, because a lot of people just kind of pick that FTE number out of the blue, but they don't put it to any type of metrics or revenue producing or cost or anything else. So it's really key to know how many visits your people should be seeing in a week.
Absolutely. The number has to be relevant to how you're operating your business. And unlike other programs that are out there, I am not here to tell you your business model. When I started this business, I said, I am not here to tell you your business model, to try to put you in a box that you need to be doing 2 patients an hour, just like this, doing that. No, this is your business. You get to create it however you want. You get to innovate and play and make it whatever you want to do. My job is to help you make sure that it's profitable, providing you the lifestyle you want. And yes, the lifestyle you want may not be aligned and congruent with the model you chose. Better to know that now, rather than putting a lot of time and effort and money and then realizing you ain't making it. I'm giving you this. This is a geometry. Sometimes you have knowns. The known is there are an average of 21 business days per month. Next one, visits per FTE per day, multiplied by the number of days. This is going to determine the capacity that your FTE has. Your FTE could be 2 part-time people. It could be 1 full-time people at 40 hours. It could be 3 part-time people. It could be a 32-hour week a PT or OT and an 8-hour week you could be operating as a 0.2 FTEs. It doesn't matter how we got the FTE. But what this number tells you is optimally, at 100% capacity, this is a number of visits you could see before you start doubling people or going beyond that, which we all know can only happen, if at all, for a very short period of time before the wheels on the cart start to fall off. Then finally, now we're able to say, okay, well, based on 294 is 100% utilization. So how many FTEs do I need? You simply divide 588, which is total number of visits you need. Well, how much staff do I need to get 588? I need, at 100% utilization, 2 FTEs, exactly 2. Now, how realistic is that your theory, your hypothesis is going to be I'm going to operate at 100% all the time? Well, probably not very realistic that you're going to do that. You're asking a lot. And you're only going to probably be bumped up to failure. So then it's, well, what would be reasonable? And this is another critical area. When I was figuring this out for my business, I had to ask myself a couple questions. One, I had to answer the financial question. Because if I didn't answer the financial question, then whatever I did, I was going to be unhappy. I wasn't going to get the money I need to live the kind of life I want. So part of the utilization target had to make financial sense. Well, on the other hand, if I put a target that wasn't reasonable, I use the word reasonable on purpose, that wasn't reasonable to the people that were going to be working for me, well, then there would be eventually anarchy and exodus. And of course, it was reasonable to the point if they were properly trained, if there was communication, if there was clear systems and expectations. Like, if all that happened, would it be reasonable to ask an employee to do this? So those were the two questions that I was asking myself. The financial, do the numbers work? Do I have the capacity in my place to do this? And two, is it reasonable to ask the people working for me to do this? So I came up with the target of 85%. 85% of capacity would give me the financial goal I wanted. And after talking with some people, was reasonable to ask of my staff. It would give me room to grow. It would give room for the staff to do some other things that they needed to do. I just felt it was reasonable and checked all the boxes. So based on that, I would need 2.4 FTEs at 85% to achieve my $10,000 a month goal. And I can tell you right now, this is the one area that I look at when I talk to any business owner. This is the area that we are terrible at. We are underutilized. For the money we are investing in our staff, in our clinics, and all the other stuff that we have, we're just not utilized to the point of profitability. This is the low-hanging fruit.